Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about types of IT outsourcing, and I want to specify that we will only focus on IT and tech outsourcing. There's a lot of outsourcing methods or logistics. You can do manufacturing outsourcing, you can do BPO, business process outsourcing. Today I want to focus on tech and IT, which is something that I have a lot of experience in, and just go through the list and go through the types of outsourcing that are out there. However, I might do a follow-up video to compare the different types of outsourcing to find out which one might be better for you, for your position. If I get a lot of requests and comments on that, I'll probably go ahead and do it. And another disclaimer, there's a lot of intermixing between types of outsourcing. So we're going to talk about location-based outsourcing or function-based. So you can do nearshore outsourcing of a project. You can do team augmentation offshore as well. So there's a lot of mix and match, but it's important for you to know that there are about 8 types of outsourcing methods or agreements, and choosing the right one for you will be vital for your next project. So without further ado, we have location-based outsourcing, and there's like 3 categories there. And then we have function-based outsourcing, which I list another 5 types of outsourcing. So the first one, and the easiest one, I guess it's onshoring, or AKA local outsourcing. So basically you're based in London, let's say you're a startup and you need software development services, and you hire an external person in your area in London or England for very specific needs, and usually for long-term or short-term engagements. So this is onshoring, right? It's within your area, within maybe your country, depending how much you want to stretch the definition, to complete a project that you currently don't have resources for. So that's onshoring. Nearshoring is when you outsource or when you hire a development agency in a neighboring country or in a close by country. To widen the perimeter of your search, usually this is associated with some cost savings, although it may not necessarily be, but it usually is. But you retain the time zone, you retain the vicinity within your headquarters, so to say. Usually it's like 1 or 2 or 3 hours flight, and you do retain some sort of cultural vicinity as well. So you're not going to like a completely different continent or completely different area for that. So that seems to be nearshoring. And then offshoring is where you go completely like in another side of the world, usually associated with even higher cost savings. However, it is operationally a bit more complex because there's a different time zone. There are longer flights in case you want to visit in person, and there might be some kind of cultural differences. But these are the 3 main location-based outsourcing. So onshoring, nearshoring, and offshoring. So when you hear this and you think about, oh, which one is which? Onshoring is in your country or in your area, nearshoring is neighboring country or close by, and then offshoring is completely different continent or side of the world. So jumping to the next one, function-based outsourcing. The first one is team outsourcing. So when you hire a completely remote team from an agency that is usually dedicated to your product or projects. It's also known as team augmentation, and it's associated with not just hiring developers, but also hiring support roles like Scrum Master, Business Analyst, the QAs, and so on. So you're hiring a whole team to work in your product, and it's completely kind of a managed service by the agency, and that way they can work in a dedicated way to your product. The other one is project outsourcing. So this one has kind of beginning, middle, and end. So you are outsourcing only a specific project. Usually you're more hands-off than with team augmentation. So you're like, okay, I need this app developed, and I want to see only review the milestones, like milestone A, B, and C, and then the final delivery. So you tend to be more hands-off. This tends to have some cost saving association and quicker turnaround as well, because again, it's you say, I need this project, you jump in, finish the project, and then the development team leaves. But again, it's a beginning, middle, end. It's a defined scope, and when the project ends, the relationship ends, at least temporarily. What I find out though with project outsourcing is usually it's the best way for founders or companies to start a relationship with a software development and outsourcing, because obviously the trust is not there in the very beginning. So you want to build some trust. So you want to do some pre-agreed work. You say, hey, I need you to redesign my website, give me a quote and give me a timeline, And then if you deliver on that, then that relationship tends to develop and then transforms into a full team outsourcing. What tends to happen is not always the case, but this is how it starts, and then it migrates to a team outsourcing. The sixth one is expertise outsourcing. This is when you hire like a very expert, very rare skilled, let's say, developer to solve a very specific problem that your team cannot do it. Can be UX, can be machine learning, can be blockchain development, like really specific, very hard to find in your area, very hard to find anywhere really. So then you contact an agency that has this expertise. Again, it's usually also short term because you find the expert, they solve your problem. They may even train someone in your team to upskill them and to have the knowledge to solve this problem in the future. And then this is done. Again, it's a very broad terminology, expertise outsourcing, because it can take different shapes and forms. It can be invoiced in time and material. It can be invoiced as a project as well. But it's different in a way that in the need that you have. So you're really outsourcing for expertise and you're not really outsourcing for creating a team or something like that. The seventh one, it might not be necessarily related to a startup or a founder or a growing team. This is more for larger corporates, but it is a form of outsourcing worth mentioning. It's multi-sourcing. Is when you outsource different functions of your business to one or many external providers. So it could be that you outsource development, and then you outsource IT security to another vendor or to the same vendor, and then you outsource marketing to another vendor. So you outsource in different functions of your business, and you need to have a very good network of providers, a good governance model, and very good relationships with all of them, because the more functions you outsource, the more you will need to manage that aspect as well. And as I said, it can take two forms. You either have a one-stop shop, so maybe one agency does the testing, the cloud, the IT security, the everything. Usually an agency that does not have expertise in all areas, so you tend to do it with multiple, but also it depends on the size of your company and the budgets, because the more people you talk to, the more specialists you bring on board, the higher the costs associated with that as well. And then the last one is process-specific outsourcing. Could be like an IT security related process. If you work in IT security or IT security related projects, one thing you might hear of is pen testing, very common. You build an app and then you let an external IT security specialist to pen test. It's actually called penetration testing, basically to try to hack your app and try to find vulnerabilities. And because you don't tend to be an expert in that as a developer, or you tend to be biased, you don't know what to look for, what to fish for. So it's better to outsource that specific process to an expert. Other related process-specific outsourcing could be AWS migration, could be even like technical recruiting. If you really need like a specific type of profiles that you need to hire, you can outsource that process. So it tends to be more on repetitive tasks that require some expertise, and you tend to hire an expert in that area as well. So those are the 8 type of outsourcing in IT. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.